Hi class, today we're going to learn the basics of using quotes. Now I know that many of you are concerned about some of the smaller rules, such as when should you use brackets and what should you do if you need to eliminate words from a quote. Those are things that we're going to address in a style sheet later on, but right now I just want us to focus on the three most important rules. Remember, quotes don't float. How do you address this? Well, look at this example. The focus on individual glory and money has ruined team sports, especially on the professional level. Quote, there is no my in team, there's no buy in team, unquote, Plaschke 2. You might not think that there's a big issue here because the quote does refer to the sentence before it. However, readers can often get jolted because there's a difference in the reading and speaking and writing styles of the person who wrote the sentence, which would be you, the writer, and the person who wrote the quote or spoke the quote. So to help readers transition more smoothly from your words to the quote, follow rule number 1. Integrate every quote. The easiest way to do that is to use a signal phrase, and that allows you to transition into a quote. Bam, you got it. So how do you do this? Well, you have a couple options. You can place the signal phrase at the beginning of a sentence. Now, a signal phrase is actually a formula, and it's pretty easy to follow. It's the author or speaker plus a descriptive verb plus a comma. An example, same quote. Plaschke asserts, comma, there is no my in team, there is no buy in team, unquote, parentheses 2, parentheses period. You've noticed also that I purposely read out the major punctuation, the comma, the parentheses, and the ending period, because I think that it would be very helpful for you to not only understand the integration of quotes and citation of them in a visual way, so you're seeing it in your writing or you're seeing it on the screen, but you're also going to try to understand it in terms of the sound, so you're kind of understanding it on both levels. Another way you could do this is to place the signal phrase at the end of the quote, and it's kind of nice to do this so that you don't always have this predictable placement of signal phrases. The reader can get easily bored by that, so it's kind of nice to kind of break it up. Here, the formula, the order is going to be in reverse. So it's going to be the comma first, a descriptive verb, and then the author or speaker. An example, same quote. Quote, there is no my in team, there's no buy in team, unquote, comma, asserts Plaschke, parentheses, 2, parentheses, period. So again, it's the comma, the verb, and then the author or the speaker. And then, of course, the citation goes at the end. Last couple things about integrating quotes with signal phrases. One is please avoid using verbs like says, states, and writes. These are verbs that can easily be used for any quote, and so you might think that that would be a really good option because they are really efficient and easily usable. But the problem is that they lack description, and part of your job in integrating quotes is also to show your superb critical thinking skills. And what you want to do is try to choose the best verb, the one that shows that you understand what the writer or the speaker is trying to do in that quote. Finally, if the author is in the signal phrase, then you are a step closer to citing the quotes correctly according to MLA format, which is the format that we're using in all our essays for this class. In the examples, such as the one still on the screen, you see MLA format and the use of the parentheses at the end of the quote. The style sheet will give you more examples of this. Okay, so now you already know rule number 1. Rule number 2, don't forget to analyze every quote. Remember that when we analyze, what we're doing is we are breaking apart a sentence or a short passage into its parts, and that often is in terms of words, phrases, and sometimes special punctuation. To do this, you want to point out specific words, and you actually want to do this in your essays. You want to pull out specific words, put them in quotes, and then explain their denotations or their dictionary meanings, or better yet, their connotations, which is what we commonly associate with the word. Remember that we did this with the Plaschke reading. right? When we talked about the idea of jerseys swallowing jerseys. Well, we know swallowing means to intake something, but in this particular case, he was looking more at the connotation of the word, right? That they were kind of all becoming one. Next rule, don't begin or end a body paragraph with a quote. So why is this the case? What should you begin a body paragraph with? You want to begin a body paragraph with a topic sentence so that the reader understands the overall argument of the paragraph. Quotes, remember, are evidence to support that argument. So if you begin a body paragraph with a quote, then you're confusing the reader because the reader doesn't really know what that quote is trying to support or prove. Why should you not end a body paragraph with a quote? If you end a body paragraph with a quote, then you are now violating rule number 2, which means that you have not analyzed it or explained it for the reader. So remember that the reader needs to understand not just that this quote is evidence, but how it is going to be explained to support that argument. So now you know the 3 most important rules for integrating quotes, and it's time to practice it in the next discussion board on the essay Little Girls in Pretty Boxes by Joan Ryan.